Hello, everybody, and welcome back to a brand new episode of the All About the Metaverse podcast. I'm joined by Alexis, as always, now, not invited.
Fantastic. Ciao, Chris. Hello, everybody. Nice to be back forever again, I guess. So we have another session filled up with quite a fair bit of things. It's good that you send me a couple of articles during the week where we can scramble a little bit, a bunch of information that comes up, and a lot of the stuff that came up, it's usually not quite positive. So which begs the question, like, why are we still doing this? Why we keep doing that? But you know what? It would be good that we clear this shit out a little bit as well. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And I think we've kind of been referring it, right? When we talk about these things internally, we talk about it a lot about just this meta bashing, right? Or metaverse
Yeah.
bashing. And we've said on every episode, I don't care how small the attendance is for an online event or how small the attendance is for an online virtual world, etc. If people are still doing things, then it's a positive step in the right direction. And this week, just gone by, we had the Insider article written by a PR specialist, apparently, and very simple title. He went with RIP Metaverse. Thanks.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, again, he's a PR guy, so we're talking about him. So he's doing a buzz, right? He's doing a buzz. Even if bad publicity is good publicity. But again, I think it's a bit easy, to pick on the unwanted the kid at recess or stuff like that. As you said, Chris, a lot of stuff is being built here. Again, I'm in Bangkok, Thailand, and this is to me considered as a metaverse hub. And I'm telling you, in all the meetups I'm going to, there's a lot of stuff happening. A lot of people are working, even though the largest company keep firing, like a ref, right, left, center. Here, people are hiring, as a matter of fact. Yes, it's still a very local crowd, but they're building stuff. Okay, so it's not RIP quite yet, I would say. Especially that from one of the stuff that you said, and something that we, continuously talk about, and one of the things where I believe it's going to be one of the, driving force, and that's not being porn, one of the driving force of the metaverse would be education. Okay, and those companies that I talk to here in Thailand, they're building solutions for refineries, hospitals, stuff that you use on a daily basis for the workers. And they just teach them how you would, I don't know, deliver a child, or how you will use that particular machinery, right? And I think the metaverse definitely comes into the fold, to save on costs on training people at the location on site, right? So we definitely should not RIP quite yet.
I think that this is the thing that annoyed me about the article, right? And again, everyone's entitled to their opinion. I respect that. But in the article, and I've taken a couple of notes as well, because it talked about, the meta is dead, it's buried, it's gone the way of, and I think he referenced Google Glass. Now, Google Glass, like some people
RIP.
listening to this,
RIP.
yeah, RIP Google Glass. But let's bear in mind as well, like if we do RIP for the technology, like RIP CD players, RIP DVD players, RIP, all of these things are going into a particular direction. But the Google Glass was released, not developed, released in 2013. That's a decade ago. Like in the last year and a half, we have changed again a massive jump with personal computing, that you can now buy an Apple MacBook with an M1 chip for $900, and it's better than anything you have ever owned in terms of a portable computing device, right? It's mind-boggling the jump we've made just in the last year and a half, and what that's caused the technology to do. We've got Apple rumored to be releasing a headset, an AR VR headset, where you could say very clearly, if Google had never done the glass, does Apple ever create their own headset?
Well, maybe. I mean, again, I think technology is going to become more and more portable, right? And to the point that it becomes portable, all the way to the point it becomes like embedded into our body. Again, as you know, microchips are becoming smaller and smaller and smaller, and therefore, we will have a tendency of wanting to have those devices really, like embedded in us. Right, so I don't know. I don't know if they inspired themselves on the Google glasses. Definitely, the ecosystem when Google launched the Google glasses was not quite ripe, quite ready, and maybe man, Do you remember the mini disc? You remember the mini
Yeah,
disc?
I loved the mini disc
I
player.
loved it, man. I loved it. Of course, I was the hated kid because I had one, and I thought that was the future. That was awesome. And if you didn't have one, well, you were a complete twat because you don't understand technology. And I love that thing, right?
My
Nobody
friend
had
put
it.
one in his car.
It was
My friend put one in his car, and it obviously just went the way of like it was dead. So then he'd have to record songs from his iPod onto a mini disc to then be able to
Right?
put them in the car.
So this is what I'm thinking. You know, I hope the metaverse, and I hope those Google Glass, or Google Glasses were a little bit like that mini disc. But I really hope the metaverse doesn't become that, you know, awesome technology that becomes, you know, obsolete because something a lot cooler was gonna come. Now, the metaverse as we know it today might suck balls, but the metaverse as is going to go within a decade, oh man, this is going to be just stunning. Imagine. But we need to grow through the painful exercise of the metaverse of today.
But that's the thing, right? You can't get to that last version unless you start with this version. And I think, you know, I'm not saying that Apple copied Google Glass to create their own headset, but Google takes a plunge and says, right, screw this, let's build a headset. Nobody else is building a headset at that time. And then definitely not doing anything in AR. Like, what? What was AR? No one, we weren't talking about AR 15 years ago, most of us anyway. So when I hear these things, I kind of try and put this into perspective. So I picked up a couple of things. Like, if you go back to when the Google AR came out, the iPhone 5 had come out. iPhone 5. We're on the iPhone 14 currently. That jump, just try and think back to your iPhone 5, what that looked like and what the killer apps were that you were using, right? It's crazy to think about that. Just think about what the speed of 3G was back then compared to how we're rocking 5G and what was available at that time that would have allowed you to actually make an AR device that was really seamless and amazing. It wouldn't have been possible. But these are the things that I think drive tech forward. And I think, again, if you go back to that 2013 time, compare it to today, and I'm reading the numbers so I don't make the mistake, there are 3 times as many apps and games on the App Store today as there were a decade ago. 3 times as many.
Only.
That takes us...
I don't know.
Yeah, but
it doesn't seem
takes
so much.
us
3 times.
No, but it takes us to well over 2.1 million apps available to download today. 2.1 million apps, right? But if you said to people, name 10 killer apps, or to name the 10 most important apps or the biggest developments of apps, people will tell you the same ones, right? Where companies have really changed the world. So Uber, Airbnb,
Grindr.
you know, they... Yeah. So all of these things I think are a massive difference, right? But those are the key moments, I think, where, again, if you're saying that the metaverse is dead, if you're likening the metaverse as a concept to what Google Glass did a decade ago,
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
really?
Well, let's see now the advent. Again, we keep saying this, and I know the podcast is called All About Metaverse, but it is clearly that it's clear to me at least that AI is going to be, you know, like a central feature of building metaverses. It's going to improve at least this experience. It's going to improve so many things about the metaverse, and the metaverse, want it or not, it will happen. Okay, it's not, it will happen. It's happening as we speak, and as a matter of fact, as I said before, a lot of people are still building on it. Right now, what's going to happen though? It's a lot of AI is going to you know, partake into the party. Yeah. So man, I can't wait. I can't wait to see what the future holds for the metaverse, powered up by AI.
But this is another interesting point, right? So in this article, and I know I'm kind of rehammering, I really am not happy with this. I just thought
Are you a
it was
hater?
poor.
Are you a bit of a hater?
I'm a hater of this article. I'm not going to lie. Like, I'll put my hands up. I'm the hater on this article. But I just think it's way too easy, right? So the guy says about, you know, this is going to the death. Meta's dying. Metaverse is dying. Capital M Metaverse is dead. But then says, like, you know, generative AI is the future. Like, that's where everyone's, woo, this is exciting. And I'm thinking they're going, these two things are inexplicably linked regardless, right? If Facebook figures out, Metaverse figures out, Meta, how to bring their generative AI into a virtual world, things change very quickly, right? What we can do today...
Minority Report. I don't know if our auditors ever seen that scene. I invite you guys to look at that movie. I don't know if it's aged very well, but that there's this sequence where, you know, like you have Tom Cruise, you know, just like taking apps and you know, building stuff together just with these, you know, like a tactile sort of gloves that he had, and all that was like powered by, well, AR, VR, and AI. And
yeah, And this is the idea, right? But if you think about like even that, all of those things, we talk about generative AI now like it's a normal thing. This didn't exist in the real world 6 months ago, 7 months ago. So what we're already seeing those guys do and what that could mean for the metaverse, I think is huge. And again, I don't think this is a one or the other. I think the AI changes the game for the metaverse completely and for all virtual worlds, games, content creation. It's huge what the difference can be. And then again, the last piece, like after this, I promise you, I will stop hating on this stupid RIP Metaverse article. And the guy says literally in this article, the future is, future tech is self-driving cars. Now, I just want to make this really clear to everyone. The first ever self-driving car that was done was in 1995. 1995. But here we are nearly 30 years later, and I still can't order a self-driving car to pick me up and take me to the pub. It doesn't exist. So in 30 years, this isn't a failure. Like it's had 30 years. It hasn't worked yet, but we're still calling it the future. So this is where I really believe there's a lot out there, which is just meta bashing, not even metaverse, but the metaverse gets lamped into it. And it's all about hitting meta and making them look bad. And somehow, I don't know why, somehow just making sure you keep hitting that company. And I don't know if it's a financial thing.
Okay. By the way, we're not sponsored by Meta to give them grace or whatsoever. No, we're not.
But if you'd like to sponsor the podcast,
Meta, if you hear us, we try to keep you afloat, bro. Okay.
But I don't want them to. They also bash Decentraland. They're bashing Web3, saying the whole of Web3 has died in this article.
Hey,
right?
let's do a podcast. Let's do a podcast on one of those metaverses. Just for the sake of putting the money where our mouth is. Yeah, let's do one. Okay,
hanging out somewhere in Decentraland.
Let's ask the audience. Yeah, let's ask the audience where they would like to see us doing one of those podcasts. Come up with some comments. Let us know where would you like us to have one of those podcasts. And as a matter of fact, when we do a podcast, maybe you'll be there. I mean, who knows?
Come and join us. Yeah, well, listen, let's stop hating on this guy. I don't like the article. There is a link down below. You can read it for yourself and you can make up your own
hate it alone.
And hate it with me, but on your own, in your own space. But so we came across a company this week as well that I hadn't really heard about. And again, this is new for me. This isn't financial advice saying you guys should look into this, buy stuff from them or anything else. It's definitely not a sponsored plug either. But we found a company called immerse.io. And I absolutely love what these guys are doing, which is basically VR training. And you started to allude to this a minute ago as well, where this is I think this is another huge thing. We've talked a lot about education as being one of the kind of cornerstones of what the metaverse could be. But actually, when we jumped in to see what these guys had on offer at the moment, I was blown away, right? There is things from first aid training through to how to deal with the media and a media interview in like a studio kind of thing so that you feel like you're in the environment that you would be in. And I thought to myself, this has got to be a great way to train. And again, especially with things like ChatGPT now being able to ask the questions and react to your answers. This is huge, right? I thought this was really cool. And again, another great example of how these worlds could be used.
Yeah, well, this is where, as you say, this is where the technology is going to come, to help humanity. I've been suffering a couple of frustration this week because of technology, and I really hope technology is really gonna come to humanity's aid. But this is definitely one of the sides of technology that I'm looking forward to. Being immersed in an environment that it's unfamiliar could be a little bit stressful, and knowing that it's a virtual world where you're allowed to do mistakes, where you're not going to be judged so harshly, where it becomes all of a sudden a little bit more, let's say, inclusive, maybe, that might definitely be the end goal that we want to see, or at least I'd like to see that, right? So education is definitely a goal for me, and whenever people or whatever institutions are willing to implement, a certain form of VR education to schools, I'll be up for that. I'll be up for that, because I remember then you can bring that education tool back home as well. Of course, that does not replace standard and normal education systems, I would say, but is definitely going to come to help.
But if you imagine as well, like if you're someone who is scared of public speaking, for example, right? Or it's something that, you really don't feel comfortable about it, but you know that you're going to have to do something soon. These are great. I think these must be good ways. I don't know this for a fact, right? But these must be good ways to get involved, to start experiencing that, to be able to stand up and be able to talk, maybe even get some feedback from some colleagues and friends or family that you trust by looking back at what you actually did and how it went. But again, this is fantastic. What a great way to start immersing yourself in these things. But I've brought it up here on my computer as well, because I just wanted to have a quick look. They've got everything from clear communication skills, how to conduct a sales meeting, conference presentations, construction management, construction road safety, CPR, right? How to actually do things on a CPR, like on a virtual model, customer services, dropped objects, electrical hazards. I mean, equality and anti-racism training seminars that have all been virtually created, which means now, instead of having huge costs of bringing in a training company who needs to bring you a specific trainer, who then has to come to your location so that your 6 members of staff
now bring the $4,000 VR set instead.
But once you've got the VR sets, though,
times 100.
No, but once you've got the VR sets, right, and again, we're not talking about really thousands. If you look at the Pico 4 that came out last year, I think, so that's at like $400 and something, which again sounds expensive, but if you actually start looking at how much a training costs. I know somebody who's a coach who does basically very high-end sales and negotiation training. It's a 4-day program. It can cost 30 grand for a team to go through his program with them. And he works with huge multinationals, S&P 500 companies. Like it's a lot of money, and that will be for a group of 8 to 10 people maximum. So that's, $3 grand per person. These sort of headsets at $500 are not, or even $1,000. If it gave you access, that means that your sales team could do the sales.
A library of tons of courses.
Absolutely. And everything from this as well. Like depending on what job you're training for, some people need to go in, for example, fire safety. You need to go into a building and be able to recognize what could be an issue, what couldn't be an issue. These are great models that you could actually start doing these trainings virtually, learn your job, figure out whether you missed things, what sort of things you should be looking for. I think it's a great opportunity. And again, I think we both agree, right? Education is going to be a killer app, or maybe the killer app for education is actually VR once it gets good enough.
Well, let's see what the market's going to be awash with, what type of product, because again, I also believe that it's the quality of the product that are going to define a little bit what's gonna be developed on them, and hopefully there's not going to be some proprietary technology that you only need to build something, this content in that particular format that fits that only particular VR set, because otherwise that will definitely kill the chicken in the egg, right?
So we've seen lots of articles recently, lots of people talking about all sorts of things, whether it be the metaverse is going to be a $5 trillion industry in the next sort of 6 years, 10 years, whatever it might be. But actually, I realized as I started digging in, a lot of the reports that we've even been talking about as well, when I start digging in, it's data that's based on figures that were researched and surveys that were conducted back in 2022, which is probably at the time when there was the most hype.
Where are they today? Where are they?
Right.
Where are these guys today?
So where are Deloitte? Where are KPMG? Where are those guys right now?
Where's the money? Where's the money?
So the money's gone, right?
Where's the money?
So now they start doing the generative AI reports and things like that. But what it's left is a massive gap whereby people rely on that kind of information to make decisions, apparently, as companies, as investors, or whatever it might be. And since that, it's gone to, we don't talk about anything, right? Like there's nothing.
He's left a gap for us. Great, good.
So we're going to have to do the research.
Look at us. There you go.
If you would like to sponsor a report,
okay.
If you would like to sponsor a report, but it's a crazy one actually, because when you look at this, you say all of these people, are they supposed to be helping industries, or are they actually part of the cause of the problem? Like if you have these massive hype generating cycles, and then RIP the metaverse, according to whatever his name was, the PR guy, the reality of it is that actually being helped or made worse by companies like KPMG jumping in when there's a massive boom, or when there's this kind of big hype cycle, and then afterwards literally just don't talk about it. We just don't mention anything.
Well, you know what? One of the things that I'm a bit uncomfortable with is the nomenclature used to describe the metaverse. I think that's going to be, we're going to have to revise this, and just even simply calling it the metaverse. right? I think just that name has got so much baggage now, right? Everybody, as soon as you're going to bring up the word metaverse as much as the word NFT, people gonna be like, what? Oh no, NFT crypto. Oh no, okay, and no. It's not. It's awesome.
And you see that a lot,
right?
though, don't you?
We're gonna have
NFTs have become digital assets,
yes.
right? Like we don't talk. If you don't really see many
exactly.
big brands now talking about NFTs,
and crypto has become Web3.
yeah, and even then, that's also apparently dead, according to the PR article. Even though right now, I think at the time of recording this,
wait. Did he mention us? Did he mention us?
Not specifically, but he will after this goes out. But again, though, you look at this. So market cap currently for Bitcoin and Ethereum, and I look at Ethereum more, but Ethereum's at about 220 billion as a market cap. And I use Ethereum as an example because lots of people use it to build things, but Bitcoin sat at 500 billion, $500 billion. And this is in a bear market, as we call it. Like, things are not particularly great. There is no hype cycle currently going on around this. And I think if you can look at those numbers and still say Web3 is dead, I mean, I'm struggling to understand where that comes from. And also, like,
how is that? Yeah.
And how do you back that up? If you want to be someone who's writing as a journalist, like, we can say whatever we want, it's our podcast. But if you're writing for a real publication, like, how do you justify that? Show me the numbers, or show me the figures or the statistics that make it so that Web3 is dead. And I think you're right. The metaverse will change, the names will change, things will change, but yeah, shame.
Well, let's try to dig up a little bit. Let's see if those, big auditing firms and research firms come up with a recent paper about a metaverse, because I mean, at the end of the day, they did put quite a fair bit of ink into it. I mean, you don't call an industry the next cornerstone of human evolution, where it's going to pump like a 30 trillion gazillion bazillion come on, at some point you need to go like money. Okay, we've made a slight mistake, but here are the facts. Here are the facts. Some companies are still out there doing stuff. It's going to look somehow decent in the next coming month or years, and by then we'll still be here.
Absolutely,
discussing
we're not leaving.
About it.
Even if it goes good or bad, we'll keep staying and we'll keep talking about it. Well, listen, Alexis, I think that covers everything that we had planned for today. But if you've listened to this and if you've enjoyed the show, please don't hesitate. Hit the subscribe button down below, or follow us on your favorite podcasting app. We'd love to hear from you as well. So you can find all the links down below to get in touch with us. Twitter, LinkedIn, whatever you prefer, it's not a problem. We'd love to hear from you, and also we'd love to know what your thoughts are on the podcast. If you think we should be doing more content that's more research based instead of KPMG, we'll get on top of that as well. But Alexis, until next week, thank you very much, mate.
Thank you for having me again. Thank you, everybody. Thank you to our listeners, and see you next week.